So we'll clear the spider webs out of the way. Have our container ready to go. There you go. Make sure it's seated perfectly. I'm going to try capture all this because it's coolant's not very nice for the environment. Okay. Just as I suspected, it looks like the previous owner's been running straight water. I need to get a flathead screwdriver in there to try and prise it out. Alright, let's see if we can get it out. Here we go. Alright. Now because of the airlock, we're not getting much out, so I'll go and slowly release the cap. Yeah, we want to release this slowly so the coolant flow goes into our container. There we go. It was a squirter. See that. There we go. Now I could probably just dump this straight on the ground because it just looked like muddy water. Yeah, thanks to the previous owner. Thank you. Alright, so now the flow's stopped. That's oil from the oil change, by the way. But I'll fully release the cap and try to get some more out if there's any in there. Maybe give the engine just a quick little start, and that's it. Alright, so since pretty much straight water just came out, I'm going to flush this out before I put the good stuff in. Okay, so I'm going to put the cap back in just to run it for a few minutes with clean fresh water in there and the heater on to let it all circulate and try to get as much shit out as possible before I put the good coolant in. I might even flush it after draining that just straight out onto the ground. Now, because I don't have enough YouTube hits to be able to afford a hose, I'm going to fill it up with clean water out of a bucket. Okay, so that's only about 6 litres of the 7.5, so I'll start performing the burping cycle. Okay, they recommend to do the burping cycle to run the car at 2,500 RPM 2 times for 2.5 minutes, and then 3,000 RPM for 5 seconds, and then check your coolant level. I'm also going to run it with the heater on. The heater uses coolant as well, so we'll try and get all that shit flushed out of the whole system. Alright. I recommend that you just let it idle up to temperature first, and they also warn that sitting there with the accelerator depressed at 2,500 RPM could make the PCM adjust the idle, so hopefully that won't happen. I'm might just run it for like a minute at a time, see how we go from there. But I'll just let it warm up for now. I've just taken the radiator cap back off so that the system doesn't pressurize. Now for the heater. That's it. I already feel it's kind of pretty warm. Take that as a good sign. Alright, so now I hold it at 2,500 as best I can. For about a minute I'm going to do this so it doesn't mess with my PCM. Hopefully this should get my brand new oil circulating pretty nicely too, get any crud out of the system. Anyway, I'll do this again. I'll give it a rest after a minute, and then I'll do it again for a minute, and we'll see what the level's like. Alright, so after doing the burping cycle, the level went down a little bit, but there was 7.5 litres of pure water put in there, and look at how dirty and shit it is. I'm glad I did this. Okay, so now that I know that this is just muddy water with no coolant in it, I'll just dump this straight onto the ground, down the drain. It's got no contaminants in it except for a bit of corrosion. Anyway, get that there. I'll put the cap back on the tank so that it wouldn't go everywhere while I'm under here. Okay, so now that I know that this is just muddy water with no coolant in it, I'll just dump this straight onto the ground, down the drain. It's got no contaminants in it except for a bit of corrosion. Anyway, get that there. I'll put the cap back on the tank so that it wouldn't go everywhere while I'm under here. Alright, so now we release the cap and it should come flying out. There you go. Once this all drains out, I'm going to just put through some buckets of water. There we go, just flushing it out a bit more without the engine running. I'll let the engine cool down before doing this as well. Don't add cold water while the engine's hot. Alright, so the water's coming out pretty clean now. I'm happy with that. Okay, so just put the drain plug back in after it stopped draining out. It was a bit hard to film because of all the water. Here I wasn't going to go crawling around on the pavement. But now we're ready for the coolant. Now I'm going to use an Australian made product. And this is concentrate. So I'm going to aim for about a 50% or slightly more concentration, about 60% I'll aim for, which means at 7.5 litres tank capacity I'll need to put in 4 litres of this and then fill it the rest of the way with water to get roughly about 60-65% or something. alrighty, so I've added my extra water and done one burping cycle, and every now and then you can see an air bubble come up out of that bottom hose there. But I'll do one more and top it up to max, and that's it. But I'd recommend just keeping an eye on your levels for the first few days of driving.